with the headset.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing today? Good? All right. So I'm Herlinda. For some of you who have not met me, I'm based out of Singapore office. I lead TeamViewer APAC marketing. Today, I think the entire team or crew, all of them are here to really host valued partners as well as journalists as well today at the same time. First, the agenda today, right? I'm just going to quickly go through the agenda. We have Oliver Steil, our CEO, to really go through the company introductions, and then Sojune over there to talk about APAC updates. And at the same time, we will also invite Michael Taylor. Michael Taylor is F1 IT director. So he's going to share quite a fair bit of use cases with the integration of solutions with us, with our solutions. He's going to dive in later on, and then we'll try to moderate some Q&A sessions too. At the same time, some of you are the panelists for the Fireside Chat. Thank you for joining the Fireside Chat and share all your key learnings, best experiences to the entire audiences here. And lastly, we have live technology, which is the use cases, showcases, demo technologies from different applications. We have two technical experts, David and Dane, who's going to walk you through that. Closing by Emet, our ANZ sales VP. So without further delay, I'm going to invite Oliver.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Herlinda. Again, from my side, very warm welcome. Really appreciate you made the way out to our small little event here. Obviously, our first time alongside the Grand Prix in Melbourne, in Australia, which are big events for us, and you're going to see a lot either this afternoon or tomorrow or Sunday or both, whenever you join us. So again, thank you very much for coming. Yes, we have to be super on time because a Formula One race is a very, very timed activity where we have to comply with all the different timelines, and therefore a short presentation from my side, short introduction, and then we get into the meat of it, the use cases. And from there, hopefully we will have some interesting experiences over the next few days. So if we, oh my clicker, so this time. So quickly, what is TeamViewer? Short video, shows you use cases, shows you what we do, and then I give you a few facts and figures, and then we run with it. One more time.
Set up a router at your parents' home in the countryside, somewhere in Alabama. Or install an update on payment terminals in 15,000 European retail stores at once. Or monitor machines of a car production in China. Or maintain a crane on a cargo ship thousands of kilometers offshore in the Atlantic Ocean without having to travel. All this is possible from anywhere, at any time, with TeamViewer.
The digital transformation continues to gain momentum in all industries. Plans and intentions are no longer enough. It's time to put digitalization into action along the entire value chain.
The solution meets our high IT security and data protection requirements as a bank. We incorporated the solution on our bank's website for real-time communication. As it's easy to use, fully compatible with our technology as well as browser-based, It removed all barriers for interaction with our customers.
Our solutions empower our customers' workforce to solve problems critical for businesses by using cutting-edge technology. This applies both to desk workers and employees outside of the classical office environment.
The retail industry logistic processes must be efficient and accurate to meet the customer promise. Through the use of augmented reality solutions, employees' daily work is enriched with easy-to-follow instructions, which ensure high efficient operations and accuracy in the supply chain space.
Enabling digitalized processes is important for every company to become smarter, faster, and better. Based on global megatrends, the potential for TeamViewer software is boundless. Our ambition is to explore more and more use cases to continuously add value for our users and our customers around the globe.
We have been using TeamViewer for years to offer remote troubleshooting of our medical equipment, for example, MRIs or CTs. And as we developed a new remote scanning service for MRI imaging, we were looking for a strong and trusted technology partner. So together with TeamViewer, we are now perfectly positioned regarding remote connectivity and can combine strong performance and high security standards.
With our solutions, we can bridge distances and share knowledge globally, removing barriers to progress for everyone, creating a world that simply works better. This is what we want to achieve, from anywhere at any time, with TeamViewer.
Yeah, creating a world that works better. So emphasis on really on works. We look at all the different work processes that you can find in a company. That can be in customer sales, support, service, product development, but also, as you see here, logistics, manufacturing, servicing, and repair. And that's really our mantra, our belief in the company, that we can really help customers improve. Obviously, very important topic. I think not the least since the pandemic, everybody has understood that the way we work has to change to some extent. And also there is significant focus on sustainability, carbon footprint reduction, so less travel, more efficient work processes, cost reduction, also of course efficiency, very important topics. And we really try to deliver those through our solutions. And that has been a journey for our company. Many of you might know TeamViewer from the past, I guess most of you. And most of the time the example we get is, yeah, I had an IT problem and someone connected to my computer and helped me with this. Yes, that was TeamViewer some years back, but we have significantly evolved from there in several steps through our product development and also through acquisitions and opening global offices like we have here in APAC region. And now we have a much broader solution portfolio to actually cater for the trends which are important and which we work with. So if we look at the trends, just 4 of them. There's global connectivity for sure, since years. There's the Internet of Things, there's more devices, there's an ever-growing number of applications and use cases because of these smart devices, and that drives, of course, technology adoption across companies. We are all even used to many devices in our personal life, and the same is true for companies. However, in companies, quite often focus still on the headquarters, on the office work where we have many applications and devices. We would like to talk a lot about the non-office world today, the deskless workers, the frontline workers, which you can see from the pictures here, and we're going to showcase that for you. There is robotics and automation happening to actually improve the work processes that we've seen, as we've seen in the video, and also that cater to our beliefs. This has been around for quite a while, sometimes very easy in some industries more difficult, because the barriers to adopt in the frontline work, in the industrial world, are much higher, and we try to help that development. And that's why we also did the acquisitions of a few companies. I think 2 big trends, as I mentioned before, hybrid working and environmental sustainability. Really big drivers have become much more important over the last 3 years. When we did our public offering 2 years back, or 2.5 years back, I think that was still something we talked about, but many people didn't believe us, honestly. They saw our solutions, but hybrid working, work from anywhere, wasn't that important. And yes, carbon footprint reduction important, but let's worry about that later maybe. The world has changed completely, as you know, in a very fast pace. COVID was a catalyst to this. So we see these megatrends, they have accelerated even, and we are operating in the middle of this. This is the way we think about our product range. You see here the pictures and the red color. This is the far right, operational workflow optimization. So think of people performing tasks in certain environments, and we want to drive that in a more efficient way. Reduce the number of errors, make it faster, increase employee satisfaction or quality of the performed tasks, or make certain tasks possible at all remotely. So you will see that in the demo. That's the third step of our evolution as a company that we also did through product development and some acquisitions. As I said, before that, we had to do a very, very significant step, which happened between 2017, 18, 19, I would say, which is building a managed connectivity platform for enterprises. Because the example I gave before, the blue world, somebody connecting to your computer, helping you with IT problem, that's very nice. It's a very practical tool which is still around. It's used hundreds of millions of times around the globe. It's for free for personal use, even so people know this about TeamViewer, but this is absolutely not working for large enterprises, because the idea that a software tool is used 100 million times in the world and everybody can connect to everything is great for us as users. It's not so great for a large organization. They want to protect their organization, they want to shield it, they want to have access right, they want to have much, much higher security standards. So one of our big steps in TeamViewer was some years ago to deliberately decide to have a second version of our product, the managed enterprise version. That opened up significant potential. You might have seen our numbers, enterprises growing above 40% in certain years, and in some regions even significantly more. Because we had all these customers, they liked our product wasn't ready for the enterprise. When we built it in 18, 19, we got very, very strong adoption, and based on that, we then dared to move into even more workflows and more processes, and that's when we get more vertical and more operational and industrial, which you will see in the demos here. So this is how we structure our own product portfolio. Simple tools, few hundred euros a year, manage connectivity across the whole enterprise, and then going into people handling, people management, as you will see in the demos. The other way to look at this, and that's I think a very interesting one also for you as partners, customers, the other way to look at it is we have something to offer across the entire business system. So every company, or most companies, have something which is called product development. They have a supply chain, logistics, parts flow. They have manufacturing, very often, if they're industrial. Of course, they have their corporate head office with all the corporate functions like IT management, training, onboarding, people management, and the likes. They hopefully have some sales, and they have after sales and service. And what we have now, if you compare TeamViewer 5, 6, 7 years back, we would be focusing on corporate function. We have something for the IT department. We would talk to the CIO or to a head of IT in a certain region. This has fundamentally changed now. We have something to offer for every department. We cover the whole value chain, all integrated into onto one platform. So no matter who you meet, whether it's the head of logistics, head of procurement, the head of retail operations, head of manufacturing, there's something that you can talk about and present TeamViewer, and then we can grow from there. And that's actually the very, very interesting and fascinating part for my journey. I'm with TeamViewer now for the last 4 years. It's like that we go from the IT tool to a broad industrial solution, which is lots of new use cases, lots of interesting experiences, and that was also ultimately the reason why we decided to enter into these big branding partnerships like with Mercedes and also Manchester United, because we want to show the world, show you, show our customers what we can offer and how broad we are in our offering, and we will continue to develop that offering and do M&A to broaden our footprint effectively. So that's what we are today, and you will see some of these examples and we can talk about it over the next few days as well. Just some numbers, 1,500 people by now, effectively doubling every 2 years as a company. Very strong R&D focus, as you can imagine, 550 million billings last year, growing 20%, quite profitable. It's a cloud service software, so that helps, of course. 600 627 or 620,000 paying subscribers globally. Again, hundreds of millions of free users, translating into 600,000 paying subscribers. That can be a single person having a single license, but it can also be a large automotive company with thousands of users of the product. So it's a very broad range, very global now. We've opened offices. We are here in the region since quite a while. I think our Adelaide office, yesterday we had 10 years anniversary of our Adelaide office, but we've also opened offices in other places. This is the footprint today. US, America is our biggest region. Europe is our biggest region. The US is our biggest single country. And we are now very well represented also in Asia Pacific with our headquarter hub in Singapore, a very, very big office, the largest office by far in Adelaide, and then all the new offices in Japan, India, China, coming together as a region now. APAC overall for us is a bit more than 10%, but the fastest growing region at the moment. So this is TeamViewer. I think I'd like to hand over to Sojune to give you a bit more update on APAC, and then we take it from there to the product demos. Thank you.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Super exciting. Well, I think my boss already kind of covered everything that I wanted to share. So let me go quickly. I have about a couple of minutes, right? Okay. So, well, I heard actually Melbourne was the longest lockdown period in the world. So really great to come here. Yesterday we arrived yesterday, airline completely fully booked. I'm really excited. And I'm very grateful to have all of you, especially who make your trip to come to Melbourne at this point of time with us. Really exciting week, especially for Asia Pacific TeamViewer. As Oliver mentioned, fast-growing market, and I truly believe we will continue this momentum together with our strategic partners. Early this week, Monday, Tuesday, we opened our regional headquarters in Singapore. Historically, we serve this region from Adelaide, Australia, Mumbai, India, Shanghai, China, and Tokyo in Japan separately, but growing very nicely, and we identify these very strong needs to build a platform to scale together as a one team. So we set up our Singapore office, and actually on that day we have our strategic partners such as SAP, realware, Google Cloud, Fujitsu, all our SIs and distributor with us to celebrate that launch. And Tuesday night we traveled to Adelaide. As Oliver mentioned, we moved to new office. Actually 60% of our APAC team sitting in Adelaide. We celebrate our 10 years anniversary, and Australia is actually biggest market for APAC TeamViewer. Our experience kind of show Australia very fast adoption of innovative technology, and across all the industry from government, finance service sector, telco, utility, and industry, manufacturing, clients, they're very eager to innovate with innovative, latest technology that we can provide, as well as you heard from Oliver's slide. And now we are in Melbourne, so it was quite intense week. We are here in Melbourne to host, communicate, share our latest technology to our partners and customers, but also enjoying this F1 event. Why? Because last year we actually became official sponsor for this Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 Team. It took some time for me to memorize this entire very long this partnership. As Oliver mentioned, it's very important for us as well to establish this global tech brand. Yes, we are putting our logo on their car display, but not only they're leveraging our solution. Our solution is integrated into their IT system to really improve speed and encourage this very fast collaboration. And this is also giving great opportunity not only us but to our extended team, like here all our strategic partners. Why? Because F1, is a great platform that all the decision makers, all the industry leaders are coming together. F1 itself has over 120 listed sponsors. Mercedes team has over 20 sponsors and partnership with above 200 customers. I heard today roughly 140,000 people will be during these weekends to enjoy this F1 event. So really great time for us to engage, collaborate, and share. So I'm really excited. So on that note, we have very special guest, as Herlinda mentioned, Michael. Actually, he's dialing in from UK. I heard it's around 1:31 a.m.-ish. Really great to have him to share how his couple of use cases we jointly kind of working on. So on that, let me quickly pass it over to Herlinda.
Thank you, Sojune. Thank you. Just a little bit about Michael Taylor. He's the IT director for F1 Team. He was being hired to really being tasked to revolutionize and also transform the IT department of F1 Team into a more business-led function. So today, we're very honored to invite Michael to join us today to share all the integrated use cases during the race, when using with TeamViewer solutions to really reduce the emissions and increase efficiency and remobilize the workforce as well. So without further delay, let's just show a quick video first. Enjoy.
We're really excited about the partnership with TeamViewer. Really getting a sense of their portfolio of products has been really exciting, not only for the IT team, but for other areas of the business.
Most of what we do is absolutely exquisite, beautiful engineering. But in reality, the thing that we do the best is we do stuff really quickly. Technology will only help us to move that on faster.
Good morning.
Hi, Michael.
Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you. So hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. Apologies I can't actually be there in person. But yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to join you, and I hope you're all looking forward to an exciting weekend spent with TeamViewer and also with Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 Team. So as stated, yes, my name is Michael Taylor. I am the IT director of Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 Team. I carry the responsibility or burden, depends on how you look at it, for IT across factory and trackside locations globally. So ultimately it's down to me and my team to provide the IT services, the platform that enables the team to run. Much of what you'll witness across the course of this weekend in the trackside location, but also back in the factory where we design and manufacture the cars. As Oliver pointed out, Formula One is very much a time-bound activity. We don't have the beauty of just holding the race for a couple of minutes while we reboot a server or get some equipment up and running if it's not working fully. So yes, it's a time-bound activity which always places tremendous challenge on everyone, and time is probably our biggest currency. So we're very fortunate as a team. We have a number of technology partners, an amazing portfolio of technology partners who we not only work with but we collaborate with. And we're very fortunate that TeamViewer, we were able to partner with TeamViewer just 11 months ago. It's almost the 12-month anniversary. Next month it seems to have flown by. Off the back of the global pandemic and the significant change that had for not only our organisation but for the world. We've actually been a customer of TeamViewer for many years, and I think TeamViewer really came to the fore during the start of the pandemic back in early 2020, when we were actually forced to close down our facilities in Brackley in the UK, where we obviously have a significant amount of complex machinery and plant equipment that still needed to be monitored purely from a safety perspective, even though it wasn't running. And being a long-term customer of TeamViewer, we had everything that we needed in place to be able to do that and do that safely. But it was a very different, very unique kind of working environment and experience for us. Being a factory, we are very traditionally factory-based, so remote working was not really a big thing in our world 2 years ago, but most certainly is today. Our partnership with TeamViewer is built very much on the ethos of Formula One in general. Our focus, I mentioned, it's time-bound activity and time as our currency. Our focus is all around capability development. It's capability development across the whole of the organisation. Every aspect of the team working at its best possible, most efficient, most effective manner brings the possibility or the opportunity to develop the car. Ultimately, it's all around lap time and the reduction of lap time, making the car go faster, and the iterative development that takes place throughout the course of a season. The car that you'll see today, or the car that started the season 2 races ago, and the car that finishes the season will be completely different. Aesthetically, it may look the same, but trust me, the components, the parts, everything underneath the skin will have evolved and will have changed and will be iterated throughout the year. So the partnership is really built on capability development, organisation, operational efficiency, finding ways to enable people to be more effective with their time, to be able to iterate, but to be able to reduce cycle times and increase the numbers of cycles we complete. So I think Oliver highlighted earlier perfectly, the challenge for us is always around how do we bring efficiency and effectiveness to our workforce and reduce errors as well. And when you're designing and testing and manufacturing a Formula One car, obviously any form of error can be catastrophic. It could lead to a failure on track, which means the car stops and we're unable to complete the race. And that's absolutely not where we want to be. So in terms of the key areas, initially remote operations, pretty much everything we do remotely relies on TeamViewer and has done for many, many years. We're also looking at other areas though where we can merge our kind of operational technology with our information technology, so IT and OT. As I mentioned, we've got lots of complex machine tools and machinery in and around the organisation that we need to have close eyes on and monitor. We also have lots of third-party support contracts in place for these complex bits of equipment and plant. So TeamViewer, the core and frontline products are used extensively to keep those machines running 24/7 in our manufacturing facility, manufacturing environment. And then on top of that, we're very intrigued and interested by augmented reality and mixed reality. I think it's still in its infancy in Formula One. We've got some pretty tried and tested methods. But the beauty of the partnership with TeamViewer is that we get the extensive experience of an organisation that has many thousands of customers where use cases, ideas, product is being developed that's then completely relevant for our world in Formula One. So we use the product in a number of different areas. I think that the 3 main use cases, which I'm going to talk about very briefly now and then hopefully open the floor to questions and answers, are around kind of key aspects of the whole synergy and ethos between ourselves and TeamViewer. Trackside remote support, we're able to actually reduce the number of people we travel to events now as a result of the partnership. We're able to provide an additional level of remote IT support back in the UK. And obviously me being back in the UK today, although not using the platform today, is a great example of the kind of work that we can do. We don't physically have to be on site to be hands-on. That's great from a sustainability perspective too. It's also great from a health and welfare perspective for our employees if they're able to work remotely and deliver what they need to do without extensive travel. It's good for both the environment but also good for the individual. And I think, as Oliver mentioned as well, it's great for the kind of zero emission drive that's permeating throughout motorsport these days. And the efficiency around the reduction of our carbon footprint. Equally, in T&D, test and development, because we manufacture or design and manufacture pretty much all of the parts that go on the car, we also test them. We test them extensively. And the new car that you're about to see today, this is the third race of the season. The new car period starts back in September of last year and runs through, pretty much it's still ongoing now, but runs through to January, the first race of the season. And all of the major systems that are on the car have to go through a significant amount of testing in our test and development laboratory. Now, historically in that space, the technicians would start an experiment, and they generally have to hang around on site for many hours for that experiment to complete, monitoring data, making sure that the experiment is continuing as planned and there's no failures or no issues. 8-10 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday can be spent in the factory testing the steering rack, for example, which may seem pretty trivial but really important in terms of the sign-off of the process of the car. We've really transformed the lives of our technicians in the T&D lab. This year is the first full year they've been able to go through and kick off experiments at ungodly hours and at weekends and evenings, and then head home and just connecting using TeamViewer to then monitor the test or the experiment to make sure that it's progressing as planned. Quick take a check on the data. From a welfare perspective, it's absolutely fantastic for those technicians who do significant number of hours anyway. A great use case and a great example of how the technology is enabling the organisation to do more with less, to bring efficiencies, but also to kind of reduce the risk around errors, but also make working for the organisation much more sustainable. Now, I could probably talk for the rest of the day, but I know you're all under pressure timeline-wise. So I'd love to answer a few of your questions that you may have.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. So let's open to the floor if there are any questions for Michael.
Is he going to win this weekend?
I'll come around with the mic, but maybe to get us started, Michael, thank you for joining us. From a personal point of view, followed the F1 for a number of years, and something that I've noticed is an increasingly larger number of technology companies are getting involved with F1 more and more. So why do you think that is?
That's a great question. I think we proclaim that Formula One is technologically the most advanced sport in the world. And I think it's fair to say we have some decent evidence to back that up. When you come to the factory or when you go to the racetrack and you see just what it takes to put on the show. And I think the pace that we operate at, this kind of iterative improvement, very agile, the product that starts the year is completely different to the product that ends the year. Really fantastic example, but every aspect of the organisation needing to contribute, and I think technology is a huge contributor to that. So I think that's why we're now seeing many tech organisations understanding that the benchmark and the place to have case studies that are relevant for all industries is actually Formula One. So that's my belief. That's why I feel that tech is now playing a big part in Formula One partnership and sponsorship.
Fantastic, thank you for that. And we're looking forward to seeing it all coming together in action over the next couple of days. Any other questions, guys, for Michael? Here we go. Matthew?
Hi, I worked in the United Kingdom a while ago, and you referred to your, whether it be headquarters or your facility over there, and what was interesting to me was the amount of, it was really as you know, the centre of Formula One teams and technology, and with a little ecosystem up in the Midlands or wherever it is, and I was just interested as to how that came about, and do most of the teams have their headquarters based in the UK, and obviously you bring in technology providers like TeamViewer and others into that, and how that all works.
Yeah, okay, so I don't know the factual answer to this question, but I'm going to give the best answer that one of the partner executives of the team I previously worked at explained to me one day. So you're absolutely right. We're kind of in the motorsport valley. So it's the Silicon Valley equivalent for motorsport. So 5 of the 10 teams are based within a 20-mile radius. And obviously then there's lots of subcontracting engineering, kind of highly complex engineering companies associated to that provide through the supply chain to all of those teams as well. And the best explanation I've ever had is that Oxfordshire, Northamptonshire, on the border where we are, is very flat and is actually home to a significant number of airfields. And I think that there was some engineering expertise built up in the middle of the 1900s relating to aircraft and the complexity there. And I think that kind of highly skilled engineering capability has just remained. And that's why Formula One or a number of the teams based in the UK are based in that facility, and it's access to just the labour market, but also the specialist expertise around. So I don't know if that's the factual answer, but that's probably one of the best explanations I've ever had. But it makes it interesting. You know, there's only 10 Formula One teams in the world, 6 of them are based in the UK and 5 are based in about a 20-25 mile radius.
Thanks.
Thank you, Manuel. We have another questions here on the floor. Go ahead.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for your time today. My question's about your sort of internal process when it comes to technology, and you mentioned obviously the speed at which you need to iterate. So I guess it's twofold. What's sort of the biggest challenge with that? And then what is the thing that you keep needing to sort of impress upon your team, you know, in terms to keep that pace of innovation up? How do you sort of go about that process?
Another really great question, to be honest. It's always a balancing act. As with any other organisation, you know, speed is really, really important to us, but not in lieu of availability. You know, as we talked about the race happens when the race is due to happen. And we're so heavily reliant on the IT systems to ensure we're able to run the race effectively and safely. Availability and reliability of systems is really important. So it's always a balancing act to understand just how close to the bleeding edge we are with technology. We don't want to be first on something that's not going to bring a competitive advantage to the team. But we do want to get a head start on our rivals if there's real capability or competitive advantage that can be developed from a technology solution. So it's always the usual kind of risk versus reward, elements of cost-benefit analysis. We now have financial regulations in place, so we do have to think about the cost of solutions. But yeah, it's really just being very pragmatic, very sensible, knowing the organisation, knowing the industry, and really trying to keep abreast of the technology. It's really tough to do. I mean, it's tough for all technology professionals to do that these days, which is why we're so fortunate and blessed to have access to expertise in all of our partner businesses. You know, we collaborate with TeamViewer regularly. We have access directly into the R&D teams within TeamViewer. It makes a big difference then to really truly understand their technology, for example, and how we can effectively utilise it within our organisation.
Sure, Alex Sarderoyd from ITY.com in Australia. This is a bit of a fun question. I mean, we've got TeamViewer with their augmented reality, and you know, already we see it in cars heads-up displays. So when do you think we'll have a F1 driver driving their car over TeamViewer, you know, completely virtually, the way that they've got drones by the US military being flown completely virtually? I mean, that's kind of crazy stuff, but maybe one day you'll have it.
Yeah, I think Formula One is a mixture of kind of person and machine. And I think that's what makes it unique, and will always hopefully retain those two characteristics. So I'm not sure where we're going to see autonomous Formula One cars racing. I think maybe other formulas we may see that, but the beauty of Formula One is always in the competition, and you always have to have the human element, I think, to create that competition. But I think, no, from a technology perspective, it's all very realistic and very real as possible now.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from the floor? All right, thank you so much. So let's get on to the next sessions. Thank you, Michael, for So let's move to the next sessions that we're gonna have, which is our fireside chat. And I'd like to invite all the panelists to come to the front. And if I want to actually hold them up, we'll have Dane from AVRLab. And then we'll have Paul from SAP. John from realware. As well as Frank from Synnex. Last but not least, Oliver. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 5.
Last one. Yeah, last one out.
Okay. All right, and let's just quickly start. First of all, thank you for becoming a panelist. Just probably want to kickstart with a little bit of self-introductions from your side. And what do you do in your organizations? What are the key roles that you actually make an impact in your clients' digital initiative? Who wants to start first? John?
Sure, why not? I'll give it a go. Good morning, everybody. My name is John Higgs, and I'm the Vice President of Asia Pacific for realware. I've got a pretty simple task of explaining what we do today, because it's more or less on the physical area. Dealing with the remote worker, there's about a billion of them in the world, which is a fair market to aim for. And remote workers need two things, fundamentally. They need mobility, and they need connectivity. Now, that can be attained through a mobile phone or a tablet quite easily, and has been. But there's one problem with that the remote worker also needs a pair of hands to do their job effectively in most cases. And that immediately removes one, and typically removes two, because you've got to type on it with this. So the answer to that is, in our view, thank you very much, my lovely assistant here. So we provided something that will take it hands-free through simply taking what is fundamentally an Android tablet and head mounting it right here, and then, excuse me 1 minute, I have a large head.
I can also thing, right?
Well, this is right now. This is a case in point.
Yes, exactly.
So here we are. So
it's one of the demos. If everything falls down, it's actually an even better demo.
That's right. So here we are. So I have a little screen, a monocular screen in front of me, and when this is on, this presents something equivalent to having a 7-inch tablet at arm's length. A 7-inch tablet at arm's length. Thank you, Linda. And this is all voice activated. So I can operate and do anything with this thing in terms of turning it on, in terms of providing a camera, in terms of using TeamViewer software, which is also optimized to provide voice activation, so I can give instructions to the TeamViewer to call anywhere in the world and link to a remote expert. And that remote expert can actually take control of the device, can turn on the camera, can zoom in, can zoom out, can download files, and give me everything I need to do my job and do my work. And through TeamViewer again, that provide the workflows, I can get instructions on how to do my job. And if it's an inspection or auditing or servicing a car, such as here, all of that is provided through the TeamViewer workflow software. And that's it.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Paul Jenkinson from SAP. I have the privilege of managing the partner relationships for SAP in Australia and New Zealand for partners who are part of our partner ecosystem and introduce technology and capability which enriches our core business processes. So SAP, 50 years and 1 week old today. 50th birthday was last Friday. We, I think many of you have probably heard of SAP, are an enterprise resource planning, procurement, supply chain, process organisation. We digitise end-to-end business processes. And from SAP's perspective, there's three things we can do. We can build capability, build processes, which we do in our core ERP capability and our history over 50 years of doing that. We can buy, and the latest example of that was Signavio, I think probably last January, or we can partner. And that's partnerships like with TeamViewer allow us to extend our capability in digitising those end-to-end processes to the very end of the enterprise, to the edge of the enterprise, away from the desktop, which is kind of the exciting part about this relationship for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dane from the AVRLab. Essentially, we work with anybody in the AVR space, AR, VR, MR space, that's in best in class. So we choose our partners very carefully. TeamViewer was one of those, realware is also one of those. And we deliver those solutions to the Australian and New Zealand market. Part of our role is to educate the Australian market, which is not what we wanted to do at the start of our business. Unfortunately, that's what we spend 95% of our time doing. But we're a solution specialist in the AVR space.
Hi everyone, my name is Krank Karabelas. I'm with Synnex Australia, and we're the Australian distributor for TeamViewer. Our role here, I play in the sales manager role here, and we focus on what we call ourselves is probably an enabler of technology. So we help enable and give TeamViewer and all the other panelists here access to over 8,000 IT resellers in Australia and become the conduit between the real world, the reseller, and the vendors.
Thank you, Frank.
Keep it simple.
I'm last of the introduction, but I think I was assuming it's relatively clear what we do with TeamViewer. So Oliver Steil, 5 years with TeamViewer now. And of course, trying to innovate, trying to find out what the different trends are in the industry, what our customers want. One of our core beliefs is customer first, and we really listen very carefully where they're going and what they see as next frontier. We're also learning, of course, from partners like Mercedes or so, and then take it into our organization and keep product development at pace. And one of our key elements was always, we see ourselves as the software glue of different elements of a solution, all the parts that you've heard here. And of course, if you want to enable a frontline worker, yes, there needs to be hardware, there needs to be linked to the backend system, and you need to have a way of modeling a workflow. So what is a person actually doing on a day-to-day basis? And if you don't model that properly, then it's just hardware, backend systems, and a concept. But you need to get it to real life. And we focus on a few verticals, which you see here, and which we're going to showcase later.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, gentlemen. We have a very diverse group here, as you can see, right? John, the hardware from a AR perspective, and then Paul from a partnership with TeamViewer perspective. Danny, everything in the space of AR, VR, everything else, as well as Frank, the distribution network. Now, gentlemen, do you guys face any challenges in terms of helping all of your clients or even your customers digital initiative? How do you overcome that? Anything specific, whether it's internal or external? Let me take an example, probably like internal. It could be probably people mindset. When we talk about digitalization, it is not just about the change of the entire technology, but it is the change of the people and the mindset. And it takes probably more than 10 years to overcome and cultivate that kind of mindset. Have you seen that, or have you also heard anything from an external perspective, internal perspective from your clients in that perspective? Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Linda. I think to answer this question a little bit more broadly, I think where the Australian market is sitting at the moment is there's still a large learning curve that we have to climb as far as the market understanding truly what AR, VR and MR is. So within this room, I think we're a captive audience. We understand what that is. Though if this was a broader audience, i.e. Mercedes tent that you're going to, ask them what AR, MR, VR is, you'll get a mixed response. Ask them how they would deploy that in the real world setting. and things get really interesting in regards to their full understanding of how that technology works. So we get a lot of inbound inquiries of people trying to solve a problem immediately, and that factors in that remote worker and the problem that they're trying to solve. But because they don't have the knowledge, they don't have a budget. And without budget, you can't extend past a very short period of time frame. So we deal with customers who have no 90-day or 180-day plan, okay? So I think it's incumbent on us as an industry and a category that we have to educate the market better in the Australian territory. We need to do it quickly. That's what I'm seeing the ceiling that is hitting at the moment. I think we also need to target the right people. So my background is video games for 20 odd years. We always, our business was driven and supported by mass market, not the early adopter, okay? I believe our mass market in this category is the frontline worker, and I commend realware on trying to simplify the narrative by having connected worker, those type of narratives to try and simplify it. But it's still ambitious because again, what does connected worker mean for 90% of the audience out there? We also need to humanise it. If we humanise the message to the frontline worker, it's them that influences. The CIOs, in my opinion, they're last down the track. If we're marketing the CIO, it's not going to happen, right? 250 inquiries and dealings in the last 12 months, I've dealt with the CIO probably 10 times. The rest of it is your frontline worker. We need to highlight to them that they're getting time back so that they can spend time with their family because of automated reporting, i.e. through TeamViewer. We can simplify their training. We can assist them immediately. So for us, the blockers right now is knowledge, and knowledge equals budget blocker. Budget, knowledge, budget.
Danny, thanks for that. I think from an SAP perspective, if we look at where some of our clients are at, I think it follows through very much on what you were just saying there. We see a level of experience in the desk-bound executive that they don't expect people to necessarily be able to even use a mobile phone in the field, and are questioning that, but everybody can take a picture on a phone. And as we've just seen, put the headset on, it's even easier. So there seems to be a perception gap in terms of what is possible and the experience of what is required to support effective and efficient execution in a safe way in the field maybe isn't there at the budget holder level.
And maybe if I really like those points. I think where we have markets which are progressing much faster now, I think the narrative is easier and it's kind of crystallizing around a few themes. One is upskilling, one is time spent and give time back, absolutely. A big theme I think is upskilling. How do you make sure workers keep pace with the technology development, and how do you organize that in a much easier way? Give an example, fast food restaurants, very well-known name. How do you train people to prepare the meal in a proper way? Yes, you can have physical onboarding and you need to have certification, and that happens like this, but it's so much easier if you have glasses, hands-free, the new person prepares the meal, everything is monitored, you see how it looks in the end, it can be recorded, certified, can be put into the back-end system, whether that's kind of any special vertical system or it is an SAP where for service tasks you can actually put it in the system. So that's a big theme. Then of course the other theme is speed and error reduction. So we need to be closer to these industries, talk to these use cases more and have a clear narrative around the value add, and then you talk to operational leaders. And I think by now the good thing is that we have very strong use cases globally, which we can leverage and talk about more and more, and it's about time to do that in most markets. Whereas a few years back, I think big confusion around what is VR, what is AR, what is MR, what do we use it for? So I think now we are not where we need to be, but we're close to the tipping point, I would say, where this gets, as you say, mass market adoption for frontline workers.
Thanks for that. Yeah, if I could just add to that, in thorough agreement. I think the speed of adoption, it depends on a number of things, and as I look across Asia Pacific, it varies by country, it varies by culture, and it varies by industry, and it varies on the degree of, let's call it Industry 4.0 it varies on the degrees of digitization of the organization. In 2020, COVID came about, and suddenly nobody could move, and our sales rocketed through 2020. As I believe TeamViewer also, in the demand went up exponentially because people wanted simple remote connection. They could no longer send their head office people to the factory that's being built to commission. So they had that. Now that's in its simplest form, and it was driven by a specific event, so that's easy. Now that's tailing off. The COVID fervor is dropping, and those sort of short-term quick purchases are falling away, and we're moving now into more the strategic rollouts. So we're back to where we were prior to 2 years ago, and we're back to dealing with large companies where typically you'll go into the digitization group, which is generally a number of well-meaning people at the corporate head office who think this is a brilliant idea to roll out, but then they take it to the field, and guess what? They don't want to adopt it in certain countries. Whereas you've got someone like Japan. Now Japan did 50% of my number in Q1, and that's very simple because this comes very naturally to them as a very regimented type industrial country, where, by the way, if they're told to do something, they generally do it. So whereas down here, I'm not pointing any fingers at Australia or anything like that, but you know, a miner driving around up there there might be, you know, this might disappear out the window if he hasn't been convinced of the use case. You know, and so we have all of those things. So it's a matter of working, you know, getting the initial sale, getting in is one thing, making sure that it's adopted and used over and over again such that you get repeat purchases and it spreads ubiquitously across the organization. That's the biggest challenge. Sorry, that was rather long-winded, but it's a very interesting topic.
Yeah, I was actually going to add to that. So they're all very good valid points made by the panelists, but one of the things I find when you're talking to these corporate enterprises, it's actually solving a business problem. So we always forget what is the problem we're trying to solve, and we actually don't go to that level. And the other fear is adoption is the fear. So if I adopt this technology, is it going to make my workers redundant? Well, no, it's actually an enabler. It's getting over those fears, and so you have to be able to go across all parts of the business and show that, and it's actually enhancing the business and giving them more back to their employees.
I'd like to add to that, sorry, but absolutely. I think what you said, you have the first sale, which is then called the proof of concept, which we all, I think, collectively don't like that much, because the risk is that in the proof of concept, like for example, if I take another technology which was very strongly discussed, IoT platforms and so forth, lots of proof of concept, not clear where they ended, so people were then at some point very, very shy to enter into any projects. What we learned though, from TeamViewer perspective, and I'd like to hear your experiences on augmented reality and the use for frontline workers, you need to do proof of concept. It takes a while, but most of the times it then scales because the business value comes through, the operational value does come through, people get excited at some point, maybe not the miner far away driving, but most people, most workers with the glasses, once they are hand-free, they like the technology, they are positive, unions are positive, workers' council are positive, the use case is there. All our big deployments, which we see in the largest, for example, car manufacturers of the US or so, and Coca-Cola, DHL, all of them actually started as relatively small proof of concepts, took a while, software integration, business case clear. The good thing is then once it is clear, it scales because it's sticky and it's their standard process. So if DHL is opening a new warehouse, which falls into certain segments, they, of course, deploy the solution they have in the other warehouse. So that's not a decision then anymore, and that's the beauty of it. So a bit of patience needed, but it comes through then.
And can I also add, please get OH&S involved. If you get them involved, they'll force them to start doing it.
All right, thank you. I think we still have another 5 more minutes. With that, it's very interesting with all the sharings here. You know, since some of you have mentioned about augmented reality. Now we keep hearing about this, you know, the adoption level as well. Now, in your clients' organizations, have you actually heard or seen the progress actually being uplifted by a lot more, or it's still in the very beginning? beginning phase or intermediate phase where you see there's still a lot of rejections within the workforce team. And what causes that? How do you really overcome that?
So talking to our digital supply chain experts, what they relate is that there's a desire at a field level, an interest at a field level to take the advantage of safety, of efficiency, of effectiveness, but maybe a perception at a corporate level that this is still kind of something associated with gaming. It's not a real business solution ready, and maybe that's driven a little bit out of the maybe Google Glass's SAP engaged with probably 5 years ago, and probably not quite production ready at that point to be integrated into an end-to-end process. And for us, it's all about the integrated process, and it wasn't ready. And people is now their experiences wasn't ready. And if we come back to that IoT, we'll do a proof of concept, and where does it go? It doesn't go where we need to. So I think there's a sort of a perception of relevance that isn't maybe there in key decision makers yet. Kind of talks a little bit to your gaming thing, I think.
Yeah, and there's a number of hardware manufacturers that have failed the industry. Magically, Talk, where are they at? They've absorbed so much mind share and delivered nothing, and that hurts our category because it dilutes the message that real hardware manufacturers like realware are actually delivering out in the marketplace. So the skepticism is held by the Google Glasses of the world. What is Google Glass? Is it enterprise? Is it gaming? What are they choosing to do? Is it consumer focused? I still don't know. And I've been through the gaming and enterprise space, and I still don't know what their angle is. But so they're confusing that market, right? So I 100% agree. It's confusing from that perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can relate to that really. It's education work that has to be done. But then I think the other end of the spectrum is deployments where it's kind of almost like day-to-day operations, bread and butter now, in very kind of asset-heavy industries like Coca-Cola bottling, DHL, Ford dealerships, for example, just basically demanding or commanding that repair centers have to have augmented reality to be able to get the latest knowledge. So it's quite interesting to see the differences in knowledge about it, and I think probably companies that have gone through learning cycles, they now know exactly what they want, and there it scales very, very nicely, and becomes a really, for us at least, a really very good business. But there's so many more companies that we could address and go after that. As I'm saying, it's not at the tipping point yet, but we're moving there, I think. But you should see that as well.
Yes, and you raise a couple of good examples. I mean, there are instances, and two grand ones here, that are just, it shows immediate productivity. And when you put a headset on there and you go do your picking around the warehouse, you'd have to stop with a mobile phone, scan a code, and everything. This allows them to sit on the forklift, scan the barcode, pick up the product, whatever it is, and then go on. Here, and I can give some actual real examples of Ford here. They recently, they're doing a global rollout to all the dealers. We did one jointly with 143 dealers in Thailand, because they're coming out with a new Raptor and a new Everest, which they sell down here, and they either go out and train 143 dealers or equip them with these and workflows for servicing and repairing the cars, and away they go. They can get up and running almost from day one. Now, we supplied the devices, we gave them the software and everything. They sat there and we sat back and thought, I hope they use it. Yeah. And down here, Ford, where the head office is here in Melbourne, they were anxiously hanging on to see how it went in Thailand, because they run Asia Pacific out of here, before rolling out here. And here they wanted to charge the dealers for the devices. So they sat back and watched Thailand, and we sat back and watched Thailand, and we held our fingers, because you never know where they're just going to put them on the shelves. came back that they were being fully utilised, and the dealer satisfaction level, these are independent dealers, they're not owned by Ford, the dealer satisfaction level was way, way above where it had previously been, well up into the 90s, to the point where Ford have now made the decision that they're going to go ahead and purchase 160 devices here in Australia and roll them out again with the TeamViewer software across Australia. So, great example of a proven use case, undeniable benefit and immediate expansion.
All good. I think that actually concludes our fireside chat. Thank you, gentlemen, for the great sharings, and I hope all of you have actually learned something today as well. Thank you, and please have a seat, and then we'll move to the next section.
All right, so hello everybody, and thanks for your attention so far. And it was a wonderful fireside chat, and thank you, John Higgs, wherever you are sitting. Oh, hey mate, for giving the proper introduction about the device and the advantages, and thank you, Oliver, for highlighting where we play from a software perspective. So what we wanted to do right now is to give you a quick demo of a few of our apps and our features. So it's not an exhaustive demo covering every feature and apps that we provide. There are two demos we want to provide from an assisted reality perspective using a realware device. One is in a picking scenario in a warehouse, and another one is an automobile scenario for helping dealerships remotely. All right, so when it comes to a picking scenario, there are multiple factors in play. The hardware, as you can see on my finger, is a ring scanner. This is the scanner I use to scan the barcodes for the picking. And what the software does is it needs to be integrated with the warehouse management systems like EWM from SAP, as an example, and ERP systems in the backend. So the TeamViewer frontline solution brings everything together and makes that experience very seamless for that frontline pickup. And if you put yourself into the shoes of a frontline worker in a warehouse, there are plenty of errors being made, because if they're using a paper-based picking process or a tablet-based picking process, there are things that are lost in perception and understanding. Whereas if you're able to provide the right information at the right time, literally the line of sight, there's virtually no errors made, and it's just so fast and so productive. So I'm going to start the process. You can see on my screen what I'm seeing in my screen of the realware device. Next available order. So it's asking me to pick from, let's imagine this is a shelf in a warehouse, and this is the trolley with two sections, which I'm going to pick and pack the required objects for this particular order. So the first thing I will need to pick is a drain plug pack. I'm going to scan the barcode. Okay, so it's now asking me to place it over here. So I'll do the same with the oil filter. Again, it goes to the right trolley. And then the thread locker. As you can imagine, it's a complicated multi-order pick. And a picker in a warehouse would go through several hundreds of orders, which are totally different to each other. So you really need to make the user interface very intuitive and the whole process very easy for the picker to go through. So it's asking me to put this in the right trolley, which I've done. And there you go. That was a complicated multi-order pick, which has been completed very quickly, no errors made, and from an ergonomics perspective, for the worker, it is so much easier. He doesn't have to drag a laptop or a tablet or a clipboard with him. It's all mounted very efficiently, ergonomic friendly as well. So I'll finish up this demo here very quickly. Finish work. Finish work. So you needn't necessarily be an Australia Post or a DHL to use such a solution in your business, for your customer's business. It could be any business with a reasonably sized warehouse operation where such a technology can be deployed to achieve the KPIs and benefits. So the next demo I'm going to show you is in an automobile industry. So John mentioned the rollout of Ford. So there are two ways in which you can support your dealer networks, and industries like automobile industries are going through a paradigm shift where electrification is happening at a neck break speed. So what do you do with your tens and thousands of dealerships and mechanics around the world? How do you train them virtually overnight to be experts in electrical technology? So that's where you can use AR-guided workflows where the mechanic can rely on step-by-step guided instructions. So it's almost as if he's working, standing right next to an expert. So I'll now showcase a demo where a mechanic is being guided through the process of replacing a spark plug. Select 2. Continue. 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 Okay, it's asking me to insert spark plug 1 into the first cylinder, which I'm doing. Continue. Continue. Again, spark plug 2 in 2 and spark plug 3 in 3. Continue. Continue. And at any point of time, I can create a report, more options. So if something's out of place and I want to create a report, it can be integrated into the ticketing system as well. Documentation. Documentation. Record comment. Record. Spark plug 1 and 2 require replacing. Confirm. Confirm. Take picture. Take picture. Save. Return. So there you go. I now created a quick report using my voice and creating a photo, and it has now been integrated into the back-end ticketing system as well. Continue. Now it's showing me a video as a worker to show me what the proper operation of the engine should be. So I can refer to this to make sure that I've done my job properly. Continue. Yes. And it's asking me to take a picture to verify that I've done my job properly. Take picture. Continue. All right, so that's a very quick fire demo of assisted reality and guided workflows. So now I'll pass the ball to Dane. So Dane's going to showcase mixed reality technology. So mixed reality technology is more of an immersive technology, and it's very useful when it comes to use cases like training, quality analysis, etc., etc.
Just one comment maybe because the question came up. So this what you see here is what the worker, this what you see there is what the worker has in front of them, and then you've hands-free voice control as you've seen. And I think always, what a paradigm shift, right? I mean, we all remember, I think, I don't know how many years back, when suddenly all the important security people and everybody working in restaurants and so forth got an earplug, so are voice connected with the back end of the restaurant, and they run around and they're super important and they can always get coordinated compared to 30 years back when everything was on paper and somebody going somewhere to talk something. And I think this is now, we're used to that, we're used to mobile phones, we're used to application in the office. Now the worker, the real worker comes into play. And how cool is that? If you are in the field out there and you can suddenly work in a much different way. So that's really drives adoption because people are excited about it. And my second point is, whenever we showcase that whenever you would do it with an experienced worker, as always, an experienced worker could easily take the glasses off and say, well, I know exactly what I'm doing. I mean, you don't need to give me the instructions. I know my process. I'm the expert. That's step one. But we all need to prepare, and the companies need to prepare for onboarding of unskilled workers. So, and when they take the learnings out of the experienced folks and how they work and put that into the process and make it standardized for new people, then the beauty comes into play, because suddenly you can put the glass onto somebody who is 2 days in the company and can perform the task without any error. And that's where really then the economic value kicks in.
Mic, test. How about now? Now, yeah. Yeah, so just going off of that, what Oliver was saying, well, first off, hi, I'm Dane. Going off what he was saying, you have workers who are not going to always know the processes, they're not always going to know how to do the proper, whether it be training or quality assurance. And so we have something like this, for example, where we have a water pump, and we're utilizing our spatial application, and we're able to then track it and have a workflow overlaid on top of it. So whether that be a vehicle that you need to overlay some holograms onto, whether it be a small water pump, a larger industry, you have those different areas. So here, for example, I just got to line up here, and it's going to start loading. Okay, so now once I have my object tracking set, I'm able to walk around this device. It's logged onto it. I can go through different steps, seeing holograms and everything like that. I'm able to also put in videos, pictures here as well. I'm using the eye selection. So I just stare at an object for a little bit. And here, for example, I have a video. If I need to be trained by either showing the steps or by showing media, pictures, etc. To selecting module. Save the information. So here as well, so now I have a virtual wall built up here. If I'm working with something, I can then walk around and see those different holograms. So if I'm working with quality assurance, if I'm working through these step-by-step instructions, I can do that by having overlay, or I could also have just a complete virtual model that I'm working with. So now I'm going to go to something a bit more relevant to this weekend. I need to place a QR code and scan it so I can then put it in the room where I want to be. Okay. So now here you'll see the second. I have a 1-to-1 scale of last year's car. We're waiting for the new model. And I also have the exact same thing we were just looking at, this time a completely virtual model that I'm working with, but going along the same sentiments with the frontline worker, training, step-by-step instructions, media I can throw in there, videos, but now I can also highlight certain portions of the vehicle. So click done here. And now I have these info points. So here, for example, I can select one and I get the steering wheel. So this shows me a small video. I can put some sound on as well. Look on my device. So I can come over here and actually see the steering wheel as I'm listening to the video and get a little bit of context of what's going on. And then if I want to go to different points, you can see also we have this pulsing, so that whether this is, again, a vehicle, a larger machine, you have this pulsing that allows you to see what's going on. So whether it's a larger piece or maybe a small switch, a small cap, you have different areas that are working with it there. And right, this one is this is more of an infographic model, but this could also be step-by-step instructions. So I go from using the guided lines that you see here, the white line that's taking me over to a next destination. I could be going through step-by-step, or like this workflow, I could just kind of see the different points and I could learn about the car. So that way, maybe quality assurance, these training aspects, you're able to do a little bit of everything. And that's it. Hope you all enjoyed.
Thank you so much, Dave and Dane, for the fantastic technology showcases. And I'd like to conclude today's event by inviting Imad to do the closing. Imad.
Thank you, Herlinda. With Oliver, we get 2 slides. Sojune got 1 slide. I only get a picture. My name is Imad. I'm the sales VP for you guys here in Australia. I'm your guy in Australia. I'm not alone. We have a big team in Australia to support our customers. We have technical people. We are represented in every state. We have channel people in every state. We're giving an experience, I think, compared to our competitors, is unmatched. I would like to thank every one of you for being present. We need each one of you, of course. We need strong partners. We need to partner with strong technology partners like SAP, realware, IBM. We also need media to talk about our story. We are evolving. We're moving from supporting a laptop, a server, to supporting machines, and now we are going to support human. Frontline. 80% of the workforce, as John said, about 1 billion people, are frontline workers. And we have the capability, the network to support everyone. Thank you again, and looking forward to working with each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. With this, we would like to conclude today's event. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance, and I hope all of you really enjoy the sessions, the food, the technology showcases, the fireside chat. I think this is really our first trial on the fireside chat. For all the experience and very skillful business partners to come and share, and I would love to really host you for the next round of event again. On behalf of the entire TeamViewer crew, special thanks, and we'll hope to see you once again. Thank you.